Scotty.
What those men just did, high-level anchoring. What a phenomenal competition of wills we just witnessed, particularly over the last couple of minutes from Toronto. Golden State lives to play another day. We will have live reports from Toronto. Doris Burke, Stephen A., Brian Windhorst, Tim Legler will be by. If we can update Kevin Durant's injury, we will. And the best thing I saw today was what you just saw. The end of the game. Just a phenomenal fourth quarter. Kawhi. Doris Burke joins us now. And Doris, at all costs, I try to avoid falling into hyperbole. But the competitive will that we just witnessed from these defending champs with Kevin Durant gone, you're in the building. How do you best describe what you witnessed?
Well, the scene in the locker room when Kevin went down was one of almost complete silence, raw emotion. It was a difficult moment for everybody that was back in the locker room, including Bob Myers. That team walked in there. There was a real solemn vibe as the players hit that locker room. And I asked Steve Kerr, how do you deal with this? He said, you just keep going. And
right.
They played like champions. Hey, credit Golden State. It wasn't pretty, as Clay just told Ramon. It wasn't pretty in the second half, but the ability of Steph to continue to play through and trust his shot will eventually go. They took 44 shots, Clay and Steph. If they don't have Kevin Durant, which is likely they won't, guess what? They should probably take about 60 in Game 6.
Hey, you live or die with them. I mean, look what they were able to do. Erase that 6-point lead, and Kawhi was just spectacular. I was surprised by a timeout there. Maybe they were exhausted, but it felt like all the momentum in the entire nation was behind them. Were you surprised by that, Doris?
A little bit I was, but you have to remember, I mean, this is a team that has done things unusually all year long with Nick Nurse, and I think he's got an incredible sense of the pulse of his team.
Right.
But let's amen to that point about Kawhi Leonard, because that 10 straight points he ripped off to give them the lead, first time all series that a lead had changed in the fourth quarter. He was absolutely incredible. And I can't wait for Game 6 if it's as good as this one is.
I'm with you. Look, it feels just given the run in that building. It shouldn't have ended the way it would have ended with a blowout loss. I'm also just surprised that Kawhi didn't have the ball in his hands late. Were you?
You know what? I was surprised he gave it up. I think he's got the handle and the strength, but I don't know if he was thinking clock and he might be able to get it back. The one thing, once he gave it up, I didn't see, and I'm trying to think back to the play, did he give it up and cut back to get it? Ball reversed sides of the floor so quickly. But you're right. I mean, the one thing you're thinking is you want Kawhi to have that shot. No question about it.
Yeah, it went Van Vliet wing and then Lowry corner, and at that point the clock is not their friend. Just one big picture thought. Again, you'd know so well having been around them. The deflation of Durant, understandable, but now you have the time to take a deep breath, go back home, take inventory of who you have. How likely, Doris, is it, do you think, you're standing in that same building again for a 7th game on Sunday?
I think it's possible, but I do believe that the Toronto Raptors will walk into Oracle Arena having the knowledge that they took 2 from them. And I heard that Kawhi, when they won Game 3, Nick Nurse said, on the way there, let's get 1, and he used a little bit of colorful language and said, blank that, let's get 2. So I don't think Kawhi's going there with any intention of giving up a Game 6. Listen, if you're the Raptors, you still, to me, without Kevin Durant, now have more talent, more depth. You can be problematic with the defense you've played. And how do you score from the other spots on the floor? You saw in the first quarter how Kevin Durant changes that dynamic, how much easier it was for Clay and Steph. The reality is the same challenges face the Warriors, physical and mental fatigue, and then who is going to score outside of those 2 guys?
I totally agree with that. I'm always moved by the competitive fire of champs, and those haymakers that those fellas threw there late to earn that 6th game was something to see. Doris, thank you as always.
Thank you, Scott.
They were expecting a party. They were hoping for a party there in Toronto, but obviously that's not what they got. Now, actually, they'd be more than happy to celebrate a win out in Oakland, but perhaps this series comes back forcing of a Game 6, right now from a 1-point win.
But also losing KD and Kevon once again.
I don't think that I can, honestly. I just told the team I didn't know what to say because, on the one hand, I'm so proud of them. Just the amazing heart and grit that they showed. And on the other, I'm just devastated for Kevin. And so it's a bizarre feeling that we all have right now. An incredible win and a horrible loss at the same time.
Arash, over on the left side here.
Steve, to your left, Arash Madain with Sportsnet. How many times have you seen the Stephen Clay show just take over a game and deliver when it's all on the line?
I've been here 5 years, so I don't know, 100-plus games times 5 years. I've seen it an awful lot. Doesn't happen every night, but it seems to happen most nights. They're amazing. They're amazing competitors, great shooters. Mark Jackson said it years ago. They're the best shooting backcourt of all time. And but maybe what people don't know is how competitive they are, and I thought that showed tonight.
Mark in the front.
Mark Medina, Bay Area News Group. We obviously got some of the information regarding Kevin and Kevon with his injuries, but is there any new information to report as well?
I believe Bob Myers is going to come in and speak on the health front. I don't really know much. Bob was back there during the game. He'll have more information.
Go ahead.
Anthony Snyder with The Athletic. Is there any regrets about bringing Kevin back into the series now that with what happened?
Again, I'm going to leave that to Bob.
Right over here, Dan.
Steve, Dan Weinke with the Los Angeles Times. It looked like DeMarcus was not going to be in the rotation tonight, and then Kevin gets hurt. How critical were those 4 minutes from DeMarcus and kind of getting everybody back into the game after such a shocking thing?
Yeah, I thought DeMarcus was fantastic tonight. You know, he stayed ready. He didn't get the first call, for that second quarter run. We went to Bogut, and then with the injury, we knew we needed his scoring, and he stayed ready and played a brilliant game. So very happy for him, and he's he's been through an awful lot himself over the last year plus with his own injuries. So this was a great night for him individually, and very happy for him.
You see Steve Kerr with the best winning percentage, tied with Dan Issel in NBA history. When facing elimination, they will earn the right for one more game, one more ride in the Oracle, backed by the Bay. Steph Curry, Draymond Green will be joining us a little bit later as we are with you until 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Stephen A. Smith joins us from Toronto. And Stephen A., let's start at the end and work our way back. I was talking with Doris Burke a moment ago. I'm awed by the competitive spirit and the ability for the Warriors to absorb those punches from Kawhi and make those threes. And I'm surprised Kawhi gave it up late. I'm just curious, all that went into those last couple of minutes, what was most interesting or noteworthy to you?
Well, a couple of things were interesting to me. It was interesting to me, obviously, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry stepped up, combining for 3 threes to go on a 9-0 run to overcome a 103-97 deficit with 3:28 left. But I think the most compelling component is that the Toronto Raptors, who seem to be able to amp it up whenever they want to, went the last 3:28 with just 2 points. 3:28 left. You go up 103-97 after a pull-up J from Kawhi Leonard. What happens? 23 seconds later, Nick Nurse, who we've been raving about throughout the postseason, suddenly has brain lock or what. I don't know what the hell it was. I don't know why he called the timeout. It's a team timeout by Toronto. You don't need to call a timeout at that particular moment in time. You see that your offense is flowing. You're taking advantage of Golden State. They seem gassed. They seem worn down. It seemed like Toronto was a bit too physical for them, and they were about to basically have a coronation inside the Scotiabank Arena. And then all of a sudden, you call a timeout. You give Golden State a reason to rest, to catch their breath, to get a reprieve from your onslaught. Yep. And lo and behold, Klay Thompson hits a 3. Then Steph Curry hits a 3. Then Klay Thompson comes back and hits a 3. And before you had a chance to sit up there and express a word, you were down 3 points. To me, that was a key pivotal point, particularly when you consider the fact that Nick Nurse, once again, obviously a fantastic coach who's done a fantastic job throughout this postseason, inexplicably calls a timeout and disrupts his own team's rhythm. I think that was the key to this game because they only scored 2 points thereafter, and it was on a goaltending play with a layup from Kyle Lowry with the goaltending against DeMarcus Cousins. You can't make that mistake in Game 5 of an NBA Finals closeout game. Nick Nurse made that mistake, and I think it cost them dearly.
We agree. I asked Doris Burke that very question, and she said Nurse has had a good feel for the pulse of his team, but I'm with you. It felt like a standing 8 for a boxer that was on the ropes that could have been perhaps knocked out, but that doesn't happen. They do get a chance, Stephen A., to go back home, but your sense of Golden State's ability to deal with this loss of Durant, do you believe they have enough to force a 7th game in that building?
I personally don't. I hope I'm wrong. I thought they would win tonight's game, but I got to admit to you, I spent the last 2.5 quarters absolutely positively depressed. Kevin Durant came out, hit all 3 of his threes, hit 3 of his 5 shots, was sitting there and looked like he hadn't lost a beat, lost a step at all. I thought he was on pace to drop 40. That's what I thought he was going to do tonight had he stayed on the court. And to see him go out that way, it was just so devastatingly deflating that it's hard to put into words. If you love the game of basketball, you want to see greatness, and somebody I consider to be the greatest in the game, it was knocked out of it. But give credit to where it's due to a champion showing a champion's heart. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, those boys stepped up. Boogie Cousins showed up tonight to make amends for his no-shows in Oakland, and Draymond Green was absolutely brilliant as well. So you take all of those things into consideration, along with the huge assist on a part of Nick Nurse, and that's why we've got a Game 6. I'm going to take this one game at a time and tell you that the Warriors going back to the Oracle, I can't imagine them losing 3 games at the Oracle in the same series, so I'll go with the Warriors going into Game 6, but the bottom line is Toronto is physical, they're deeper, they look to have Golden State gas, and Nick Nurse let them off the hook.
Stephen A., I appreciate you, man. We'll see you bright and early on First Take. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time as always.
No problem.
Midnight Eastern, and I am not tired. Now let's go. Let's go. We get an hour? Is that all we get? I'm like Vital. Give me an hour. Give me 2 hours. We got Tim Legler standing by to break down. I don't know what he's breaking down. Give me the whole 4th quarter, Legs. You got an iPad over there. So figure it out. Steph Curry's going to stop by. Draymond Green's going to stop by. Golden State down 6 late. Makes 3 threes in a row. They survive. They win by 1. Kawhi Leonard gives it up. Van Vliet to the corner. Kyle Lowry to be a hero. No. That's it, and that's all. One more look at this. Draymond out there gets a piece. Nick Nurse, live. His explanation of what happened there. I wonder if they asked about that timeout as well.
Nick, over here, Lucas Meyer, News Talk 1010 Toronto. 2 questions. One on the last play, Kyle's shot there in the corner, just coming out of the timeout. Is that kind of a shot you were hoping to get, kind of staggered out of the top of the key? And then a broader question, we saw the team walking out of Game 4, all business, not really celebrating, not getting too high in the moment after a tough loss like this. How confident are you in the team being able to respond, going back to Golden State for Game 6?
I mean, we didn't take a timeout there on that last play, right? But we let them play, and Kawhi had it, and they doubled him, and he moved it to Fred, who moved it to Kyle, and we just didn't quite have enough space there. I thought it looked like it was going to be a really good shot, an open corner 3, but I didn't see who got out there and got a piece of it. But again, I was confident we would come down and play and make the right decisions and get a good shot. I have a lot of faith in those guys. And as far as your second question, we don't really have much choice. And I think that our team has reacted all year long great to bad losses. And I would say it takes a lot to beat this team. And that took a hell of a lot of blows and a heck of a lot of balls bouncing the wrong way, in the last couple minutes. For us to come out on the wrong side of it tonight. But I'm super proud of the guys. Man, they played their guts out, kept on fighting, and put themselves in position to win it.
Tim, standing in the back right.
Nick, Tim Reynolds for the AP. To sort of elaborate on what you were just saying, I mean, if this thing had gone to plan, you're supposed to be up 3-2 right now. I mean, that's what, that's where home court is. You're supposed to be up 3-2 at this point.
Yeah.
Having said that, is it hard for you to not look at tonight as an opportunity loss?
No, not hard at all, Tim. I think that I always, I think after Game 2 in the Phillies series, I said, listen, I expect this to be a long series, right? I expect this one to be a long series. I'm not sitting here trying to think we should be this, be that, but if you'd have probably told me at the start of this thing if we could fast forward to a 3-2 lead, you want to take it, I'd probably say yes.
Steve on the left.
Tim Legler alongside. We got the threes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what we got. We just heard the explanation for what ends up happening late. I'm surprised that Kawhi lets the ball out of his hands. The guy had a 10-0 run there.
When we do that in a second, you're going to see why. I think he made the right decision. He was going to get himself in some serious trouble because of Iguodala's double team.
All right, but the reason that they even need a bucket after they had a 6-point lead late is because great shooters, and that's what Clay and Steph are, great shooters hit shots, but there's more than just the shots that's involved. Tim, what do you got?
Great shooters and great execution. And this first one by Steph Curry, man, was he due. Now, he had missed about 4 probably in the fourth quarter, all front rim, and they were all 28 feet and beyond. I love this out of this timeout. He's going to come off 2 baseline screens, but here's the key. Look where Steph Curry is when he passes the last screen, and he's going to end up catching the ball about here. Okay, now we call that, I teach this at my basketball camp, banana cut. If the defender is on your outside hip, you have to shorten the distance to the passer because there is no way that Fred VanVleet is going to be able to catch up and make up that distance. It's called running through the pass. That's what Steph Curry does. And more importantly, look where he's at. He is right on the line. And at a time in the game when you're gassed and tired and you're taking 28-footers, it's nice to be able to toe one up on the line. But his ability to run toward the ball, knocks down the 3, huge one right there to tie it up. And then you get this one right here. Curry does a great job. He's going to probe down to the baseline, and you're going to see the reaction here by the Toronto Raptors. Everybody chases, and that's going to allow Iguodala a chance to slip into the rim.
And then everyone ends up scrambling.
Exactly right. Now they dive. Take a look. What you got, 5 guys around the basketball. I was yelling at Draymond Green throughout the night when he was passing up some of these threes, how important it is that he's a threat. Well, this was just a phenomenal decision because he's got a wide open 3, but watch how quickly he fires this ball. There is no hesitation on this pass to Klay Thompson, and you can see already Kawhi Leonard, he's got his track shoes on, head down, sprinter coming out of the blocks. He's going to try to get out there and contest this thing. Phenomenal pump fake. Kawhi flies by. Klay Thompson, tremendous poise. He's been in this situation so many times. Little sidestep, knockdown 3. All set up by Curry's penetration. Great presence by Iguodala not to panic and take a shot with 5 guys around him. Swing to Draymond. Immediate ball reversal to a better shooter in Klay Thompson with the ball fake, showing poise. He shoots that the first one. Kawhi Leonard probably tips that, and it's game. Instead, pump fake, sidestep, bang, we got a tie game, and sets up the last possession defensively.
Well, we talked a lot about Nick Nurse and that timeout because Kawhi had a 10-0 run by himself. They gave the building, the fuse was lit. They're ready to go nuts. They've got a 6-point lead. Nurse was asked about that timeout. I'm going to circle back with you, Tim.
Well, for me, I really felt for him, right? I know he was probably not 100%, and he gave it a shot tonight, right? And just made a, kind of a move on his own, and he went down kind of on his own, I think, without a collision or landing on something, so you knew it was probably, not good, But the moment for me is I love KD, love watching him play, and I when anybody goes down, you're saddened by it, but when one of the great players like that.
Obviously, that is Nurse on the Durant injury, and more of that as we continue on. We'll see if there's an update coming. Steve Kerr alluded to the fact that Bob Myers was going to come out, and if that happens and we get an update, we will share that with you. We will get to Nurse and that sound about the timeout in a minute. I'm going to get to you in a minute, but I believe Draymond is standing by, and I'm not going to make him wait for me. He's always kind enough to stop by. Draymond, welcome back in, man. Congratulations. Tim Legler and I were just showing what went on late. I said to Doris Burke, I'm awed by the competitive spirit that your group possesses down 6. How do you guys punch your way off the ropes?
Thanks for having me, first off. But, just never give up. Once, we felt like we had them right where where we wanted them, and Kawhi hit a couple big shots, but we weren't going to quit with our season on the line. And Klay hit a big three, Steph hit a big three, and we was able to tie the game up. And then from that point, it's anybody's game.
Sure. Now, a lot of conversation has been about the fact that Kawhi scores 10 in a row. They're going bananas in that building, and then there's a timeout. It seems to me, and I'm sitting a long way away, that helped you guys. Did you feel like it gave you a chance to take a deep breath and sort of get yourselves back together?
Absolutely. They had got it going there, and Kawhi had got it going there. And, once we took the time out, we were able to gather ourselves, draw up a play, and, gain our composure back. They really went on a run there, and like you said, that place was going bananas. So, I think that timeout allowed us to settle in and, go back to doing what we were doing before Kawhi went crazy.
We've talked a lot throughout your run, throughout different rounds of the playoffs, but this is a chance for them to win a title, and they're about to. And for you guys to land these haymakers late and earn the right to go back home for one last ride in Oracle, a night like tonight in that locker room, what does it mean to a group? I know you've won titles, but what does this night mean?
Oh, this night means a lot. We get a chance to continue our quest for a three-peat. With everything going against us, our backs against the wall, an entire arena screaming and yelling, an entire country against us or two. We showed up and we made plays during a big moment. And I don't care how many championships we've won, you feel good about this moment.
And you obviously are able to do it without Kevin, who comes back and looks like Kevin, and then we see him go down, and obviously it's deflating for you all who are his teammates who've seen what he's gone through to get back out there. What's that moment like when you realize, man, he's tried and it's not gonna work out?
Oh man, it's definitely a deflating moment. We just tried to keep our spirits up and rally together, but that's our brother, and he got back out there to battle with us, and so to see him go down, it took the life out of us for sure. But we could just continue to battle and lean on each other, and we was able to come out with the win. But that's much more important than any game, his health. And so we're all praying for him, and we're going to be by his side no matter what the situation is. We're all going to be right by his side there with him.
The other day you were talking about win game 4, win game 5, win game 6, and good times coming. Now it was going to require win game 6 and win game 7. What do you feel like you all need to do collectively to win that 6th game to give yourself that chance to have a 7th?
We got to go home and be solid. We got to play our brand of basketball and cut back on some of the turnovers, but really just have great game plan discipline. I know our coaching staff is always going to do a great job of putting us in the best position as possible to succeed. And, we got to go out there and leave it all on the line each time we step on the floor for hopefully these next 2 games.
Draymond, as always, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and visit. Congratulations, and we'll see you guys later this week, all right?
All right, thanks a lot.
Yep, that's Draymond Green. All right. As promised, Bob Myers, the update from Golden State on Kevin Durant. Are we going to go to this now? Okay, here it is.
Care of the Bay Area media, those people who cover us all the time. So he'll start with an opening statement on KD and take a couple of questions, realizing we're not going to have more answers until tomorrow. So go ahead and start, Bob.
Kevin had it's an Achilles injury. I don't know the extent of it. He'll have an MRI tomorrow. Prior to coming back, he went through 4 weeks with our medical team, and it was thorough, and it was experts and multiple MRIs and multiple doctors. And we felt good about the process. He was cleared to play tonight. That was a collaborative decision. I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand this world. And if you have to, You can blame me. I run our basketball operations department. And let me tell you something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to play basketball, and the people that questioned whether he wanted to get back to this team were wrong. And I'm not here to... He's one of the most misunderstood people. He's a good teammate. He's a good person. It's not fair. I'm lucky to know him. I don't know, I don't have all the information on what really, the extent of what it all means until we get an MRI. But the people that worked with him and cleared him are good people. They're good people.
Mark, first question in the front.
Mark, Medina Bay Area News Group. With all due respect, what's your reasoning to point the finger at you?
I am the president of basketball. If you have to. And I don't think there's anybody to blame, but I get it. That stuff happens. I hope nobody does. I don't think it should land on anybody, but if you feel like you need to.
Anything else?
Ann in the middle.
So I'm watching this the same as you are, and I'm looking at Tim Legler, and the emotion is it's just so unusual to see because you're dealing with someone who's dealing with an injury, and he's saying, if you want to blame somebody, blame me. I want to welcome in Brian Windhorst here, and Brian, you've been covering this throughout, and there's been, a bit of secrecy, which I understand because it doesn't benefit them or anyone else for all of the information to be out, but it's clear that Myers is saying, hey, look, like he'd been cleared and we couldn't know that this was going to happen. How are you processing what you're hearing from the Warriors GM?
Well, Scott, I was in the Warriors locker room area all night again, just like I was last week. And the doctors' faces were ashen when Kevin came back there. You could feel it was almost like it was a mini funeral back there. And he limped out midway through the third quarter. You don't leave a game of this magnitude. This is a guy who's been cheering his team along the whole time. He just wanted to get out of there. You could feel that it was really bad. His agent, Rich Kleiman, was white as a ghost. I mean, you could just feel how bad it was. And, the difficulty on this, and you're talking about blame, I'm not a sports scientist. I bet you could ask 10 sports scientists, you get 10 different answers. They play him 12 of the first 14 minutes. I don't know whether that has an impact on weakening the injury.
Right.
He had this injury really because he was playing 46 minutes a game, I think, in the Houston series, and it sort of led to this. And so they really rode him hard this year. They didn't have backup wings. They elected to sign DeMarcus Cousins because, they instead of a wing. So you could go all the way down the line and find 15 different places here. At the end of the day, it's just a terrible story. And Scott, I don't mean to take the focus off tonight, but the NBA just changed. The NBA just changed. Next year, there's teams crawling all over themselves to get Durant. There's going to be this pecking order. There's teams making trades to clear salary cap space. The thought was he was going to be available on the market. In addition to this series, the entire NBA just changed tonight. And
that's with the presumption that if it's an Achilles injury that would shelf him for a year. I understand that, but I'm looking just the big picture about a guy in Durant. And it was interesting today that the Rucker Park video was making the rounds on social media. And you remember the joy he had in that night. He goes into Rucker, scores 60-some-odd. This is a guy who, as Bob said, and it's true, he just loves to play basketball. Like, that's what he does. And so I would imagine to some degree, as great as he is and loving to play as much as he does, and down 3-1, if he can go, he's going to try to go. So I don't know how you protect someone with that competitive spirit and that level of talent who loves to play from playing. And that's not a question, it's just a statement. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he was so into it. I mean, he scores 11 points in 12 minutes. At one point he took a hard fall and he popped back up. You know, in warm-ups, pregame warm-ups, when he came out here, the fans were paying attention to every single shot that he made, and to sort of send them a message, he threw down a dunk. I mean, he was reveling in his ability to contribute in this game. They got up that huge lead early on. They really feel like getting a win tonight was like a win and a half, because in the 2-2-1-1-1 format, you go home with momentum and go home with Durant, with Oracle in the last game. He was so fired up to play in this game. And to have that moment happen is why everybody associated, even though this was a championship on the line, it's one of the incredible finishes in recent NBA history, everybody associated with this game feels sick right now because they all know what this means. All of those players know that he must now carry this injury onward. The game is over, but he's going to carry this injury onward. He's going to be the one who has to deal with it.
Yeah, and I don't care who you root for, even if you're a Raptors fan. That first quarter was breathtaking. That's what you want to see, the best in the world going toe-to-toe and head-to-head, and they were. And then, to your point, Durant leaves and then leaves the building with the injury, and we'll wait for definitive information on that. Brian, thanks. As always, you've been great on this throughout. We'll talk again, all right? All right, that's Brian Windhorst. All right, as we continue on, we owe you that Nick Nurse sound on what the idea was there late for Lowry. Tim Legler is going to diagram that. Also, Steph Curry will be stopping by again. Stephen Curry joins the show as he has so many times throughout their playoff runs through these years. And Steph, you guys, man, you've had parades, you've won titles, but a night like tonight, when you're down 6 and that building is ready to celebrate its own title and you guys punch your way off the ropes the way you did, how do you describe the satisfaction of what you all were able to accomplish just a few moments ago?
It's hard to put into words right now. I mean, we're going through a lot in the locker room, and just an overall emotional roller coaster of seeing your brother KD go down, and just the look on his face, and trying to be there for him, and all the while having to play a basketball game. It puts everything into perspective, really. Just how fortunate we are just to be, out there, hooping like that, and to be on the stage, and no matter how many shots you miss, whatever the case is down the stretch, just enjoy playing basketball. I think that's what we kind of tapped into. After Kawhi went crazy, we just, buckled in and did whatever we had to do to stay alive, and obviously we're celebrating and enjoying this win. We got to regroup for Game 6, but right now it's just about KD and looking out for him.
I appreciate that, Steph, because we heard your GM Bob Myers just moments ago, and I mean he was moved by the emotion, and it's clear you are as well. I mean, was it? He went through so much to be back out there, and he loves to play so much. Was this just the kind of thing where just to see him go down under those types of circumstances after the way he played, did that just magnify this? I mean, I'm trying to grasp the emotions, but obviously we can't because we're not where you are. So how the source of them, they come from where?
I mean, I don't know. Like you said, he's been through so much in his last 30 whatever days, and he did everything in his power to, go out and give us what he had. And, as soon as, he gets hurt, it all kind of comes crashing down. And
right.
At the end of the day, I mean, like you said, everybody was on board for him to play and to try to give us, again, what he had. And, I mean, somewhere deep in your gut, I don't even know what the word is. We're just looking out for him and want to be there for him as a human being, as a friend, as a teammate, as he recovers through this one.
Understand. And look, you honor your teammate the best way you can, which is by playing like maniacs yourselves there in those last few minutes, which gets you a chance to go back home and get you a chance to play again in the building where so much history has been made together. What do you do in the hours between now and then to take this deep breath and get yourself the focus that's required to earn a trip back to Toronto?
I don't know. I mean, being back home will hopefully give us a little boost of energy, and hopefully, you know, our crowd will be into it. We've been talking about Oracle closing it down. We obviously have one game left in that building, and it's going to be a dogfight for 40 minutes. We have to be locked in, you know, emotionally, you know, mentally, physically, and just give ourselves a chance. And whatever it's going to take, we obviously know there's going to be guys who are going to need to step up once again and going to be, you know, called on to play big minutes for us. Just everybody's got to be ready and just compete, man. That's what we do.
Understood, and we saw that again tonight. We've talked a bunch through the years in situations like this where you've won, and there's an understandable joy. And I get tonight why it's tempered, Steph, but it feels like this is so heavy, that this is so much that you guys are dealing with. I mean, is this the kind of thing that you guys can let go of? Can you guys let go of this pain you feel for your brother and your teammate and do your jobs?
I mean, we have to. As tough as of a challenge it is, we have to. We have no choice. This is, you know, the hand that we've been dealt, and you know, at the end of the day, like you said, it's just basketball.
Yep.
You know, we put so much time and effort and work into it, and we do it as a collective, and we enjoy the highs and the lows. But we're gonna have to tap into something, you know, special, you know, for Game 6, where, you know, we know who's going to be out there, and you know, we know how tall of a task it is, and we just got to get it done. So we're going to have to really feed off our crowd, because we gave ourselves a chance to be in that atmosphere one more time, and it's going to be special.
You earned that right. And listen, given tonight and given all that your locker room's experiencing, I sincerely appreciate your time to come and sit down and visit with us. And safe trip home, and we'll talk again. All right, Steph?
Appreciate it.
Yep, you got it. That's Stephen Curry. This is pretty remarkable. In the last 20 seasons, you see the record there for teams when trailed by 6 with 3 to go in a game. 3-92. And this is just, you know, the 3-92 tells part of the story. You trail by 6 against a team and against a player who's like a dump truck going downhill with 3:05 left. You see the difference from the floor. The threes were made by the Splash Brothers. They didn't miss a shot. Meanwhile, the Raptors made just one basket. Nick Nurse afterwards asked, evidently by one of his own players, about what happened.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to know the thought process behind calling the timeout when we were making a run, while the Raptors were making their run.
You know, those two we took at 3-minute mark? Yeah, well, we had 2 free ones that you lose under the 3-minute mark, and we just came across and just decided to give those guys a rest. And we had back-to-back ones there that we would have lost under the 3-minute mark, and just thought we could use the extra energy push.
Generally, you try not to ask a question that where you say we, and you try not to say talk about, because talk about's not a question. It's just talk about. Tim, talk about that last play. What happened on that last play?
Well, here's one of the things. Now, they did have a timeout. They elected not to use it after the Cousins offensive foul. Okay?
You wish they would have?
Yeah, I do, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're going to go ISO with Kawhi Leonard, the one thing you can dictate is where he catches it. Because here's what happens. You take a look at Klay Thompson. He's playing on the high side of Kawhi Leonard, who wants to pop out in a perfect world, probably somewhere in this area. But instead, because of Klay being on top of him, he has to come all the way out here. So the fact that you don't call timeout to dictate that you can set something up to let him catch the ball maybe at 19, 20 feet. So instead, I mean, look where he starts this off at. He's almost at half court. Klay Thompson's obviously up, not going to allow a pull-up 3. And here's what else it does. It allows Andre Iguodala to stand back here and have all this space and time to read this play. Now, his man, Kyle Lowry's clearing out. Iggy could care less about that. He's worried about one thing, and it's where is Kawhi Leonard going to go with this dribble. So as he starts to go, you see Iggy in center field. Goes right there. I think this right here, this trap, I think Kawhi Leonard makes the right play. You've got to give the ball up, so you're going to see Van Vliet's going to circle up, and that ball is going to get swung. I want you to look at one other thing, though, on this. When I watch it the second time, look what Draymond Green is. He's on the bottom of Marc Gasol, and it's really, really important that he get to the high side of him.
Why?
I'll tell you why right now. On the closeout on Kyle Lowry, because Draymond Green has worked himself to the top spot, When this ball gets swung, he is now going to close out on the shooting hand side of Kyle Lowry. If he had been on the baseline, which some guys would, you get pinned down here, you're closing out on the opposite from the shooting hand because this is Kyle Lowry's right hand. So just that subtle thing allows Draymond Green to close out on top. And now, as you can see, when this shot goes up, it is hand on hand. And nothing bothers a shooter more than flying over the top of the ball and over the top of his head. We're not sure still if he got a piece of this or not. But the fact that he closed that hard on the shooting side, I'm telling you as a shooter, guys closing on me on that side and flies by with his hand over the top, that's going to bother me more than anything. Even hitting my elbow, hit me in the chin if you want to. You come flying over the top of the basketball, that's going to bother a shooter. So a lot of things went right for Golden State in that last possession. Great read, great IQ. Toronto not calling the timeout there, didn't let Kawhi start to play in a better spot.
Bob Myers' press conference in tears talking about Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, who just moments ago was with us. It's obvious just how heavy this injury is that Durant suffered. I'm just curious your reaction to their reaction.
Well, we were sitting here when they were showing Bob Myers at home on TV, and we kind of both looked at each other. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Have you ever seen an executive, like in that situation, be that emotional? It's very surprising to me to watch Bob Myers.
And on one level, like you're trying to, like the source of it, you understand, like the guy went through everything to be back out there, and if you want to blame somebody, blame me, and he was cleared. But then, like, I mean, it's clear to Steph how much that's weighing on their group. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, they just won, and they won remarkably, I thought.
Yeah, it's such a strange emotion right there because they should be feeling exactly the opposite. They saved their season, potentially have another shot here to add to what this dynasty has been over the last 5 years.
Right.
They got another shot. They lived to see another day on Thursday, but like the humanity of what they were dealing with this guy that not only is one of the all-time great players, but a guy that they've come to love over the years, and that's where they are mentally right after a game that's that emotional to close out in that fashion on the road. Very strange mix of emotions right there. And I think for Bob Myers, that was coming from a place of ultimately he gets cleared from somewhere. And he played, and we all were wondering what were we going to see, look good early. But obviously that thing wasn't ready. And the thing, you and I talked about this in the green room, you don't know until you have to go and exert it, right? You don't know. All the dry run workouts you want to do, you really don't know until you have to go hard, whether it's defensively or making an offensive move like that. And the first time he really did it, because he was measuring himself early in the game.
Sure.
He finally went hard. I'm going to go at a guy now. I'm starting to feel pretty good.
That's when it gave.
First plant, it goes. So clearly it wasn't ready, even though everybody associated with the organization thought that it was.
Tim, thanks. Boogie Cousins, a guy that obviously knows something about.
What do you think about the people who question KD's heart and how long it was taking him to return?
Damn.
Some of the fans cheering when he went down.
Trash. So trash. But like I said, we only idolize is superstar athletes, not human beings. It's always about what we can do between those lines. That's it. That's all that ever matters. And then once we lash out and, do human type things, then we consider bad guys.
If anyone watched the last 3 years of basketball, you saw this man was the finals MVP back-to-back. So all that, those talking heads who say we're better without him, that's just ludicrous. Like, that's crazy. This is the best player in the world. You could put him on the 30th best team in the league, and that team will make the playoffs. That's how talented he is. So we don't even pay any of that no mind, because with him, we are really I believe, one of the greatest teams to ever play. Without him, we're a really good team, but you throw Kevin Durant out there, like I said before, one of the greatest ever. So we don't pay that any attention because that's just stupid. Stupid, because he's a warrior. You saw what he did tonight. He sacrificed his health for us. And we dearly miss him. I mean, I was very deflated to see him go out. I'm just going to pray for the guy, and I know he'll be back even stronger.
Rachel Nichols joins us now, host of The Jump. And Rachel, from the moment Steve Kerr sat down and talked about it, and Bob Myers sat down and talked about it, and we showed that here to our audience, and then Steph sat down with me, these guys just won a game miraculously, and they're wrecked. You were with them afterwards. How do you best sort of paint the picture for the folks that maybe we haven't heard from or seen yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, so emotional in that locker room afterward because they do realize they just gutted out a crazy win. And yes, they do feel like, maybe they have a little foothold in this series. Draymond Green said to me afterward, the pressure's on them now. The pressure of the next two games is on them. I don't know if that's true. It's still the Warriors that are down in this series 3-2, but they do feel that they've sort of found something here. That being said, they're all so upset about Kevin. You could hear it in those comments you just played. Steph Curry, when I played him what Bob Myers said at the podium on my phone just because he wanted to see it, he started crying and couldn't finish talking to me and had to go find Bob and did find Bob and gave him a hug. I walked out of the building with Steve Kerr and Scott. I mean, he just kept saying to me, he's like, the doctors told us that he couldn't get more hurt by coming back, that he had cleared that hurdle. And he just kind of kept saying that over and over again. And I think that's the pain you see on someone like his face, Bob Myers' face. They feel responsible for this situation, even though, of course, no human's responsible for an injury happening to someone else. They do feel like, but we thought this, and that's why we made that decision, and then this other thing happened, and you can see it's going to be a very long flight home for them.
Yeah, it was really amazing. I mean, Steph sat down. He's been on this show a ton throughout this playoff run. I mean, they won, and it was clear the tears were still very much in his eyes. But you know what? They honored their teammate the best way could. They earned the right to go home and play again and play for him and play for their city. Rachel, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, all right?
Thank you.
All right, you can't overstate what Durant is in the finals. And I know we've got that stat about regular season, what they are with, what they are without. I mean, with Durant in the finals, they've lost once. Without him, they've lost 9 times. And now they got to win a couple more. And on Instagram, you see what has been posted. I'm hurting deep in the soul right now. I can't lie, but saying my brothers get this win was like taking a shot at tequila. I got a new life. Hashtag is dubs. That's, by the way, that's Kevin Durant on the gram. I'm not on the gram, Steve. Kawhi Leonard's 26 points came consecutively in the fourth, which gave the Raptors a lead. He was fantastic there. Looked like they might win a title. Then late, he passed up the ball and was asked afterwards about not taking the last shot.
I mean, 2 guys came up on me. You know what I mean? I don't know if I could have got a shot off. It's hard. I mean, if you got 2 guys on top of you, you have to try to find the right play. We ended up getting a shot in the corner, but it just didn't go off quick enough.
All right, Los Angeles is next. And if you're a fan of old school rap, and I am, Rakim will be in the studio tomorrow night. I'm freaking out. So we're looking forward to that. LA's next. We'll see y'all tomorrow.